If you have ever delivered great work for a client, work that you could actually say you are truly proud of, and still you find that you're actually running into issues. You still felt like you were not happy and you could not figure out why. And you're exactly in the right place today if that's you, okay? Literally that. Real quick, before we actually dive in, you already know I do not do fluff. We're going to go with one leak, one fix every week. And today's leak is one that is quietly ruining good work, I believe, before the work ever gets a chance to actually speak for itself. Now, this topic, y'all, as always, I think it's going to be a good one. Now, we got some folks that are going to be dropping in more than likely here in a second from our area, so I was just trying to just kind of give them a little time to come on in. But let me tell you, if you have had clients go away quietly, generally not saying much, they pay you, they thank you, but they don't say much, or either they go away quietly mid-project, and you had no idea actually what it actually meant, I want you to type yes down in the comment section. So you've got these clients, they know that you're good at what you do. You know that you're good at what you do. But the client is not communicating with you. You can sense some type of frustration, but you're not quite sure what it was. Comment yes down in the comment section. Just curious. All right, let's go ahead and let's get started. There is so much that I actually really want to cover here today. You notice I'm in a different environment, out of town with my daughter. Let me tell you, your work is not what your client is actually judging, okay? It's your communication. Your communication is what they're actually judging. That is going to be uncomfortable for some of you, right? So let me say it again. You can do everything right. Deliver on time, deliver quality, deliver exactly what you actually promised, and still lose the client. Really. And still lose the client. Still get that lukewarm testimonial. Still never get the referral. I bet you're wondering why, right? Here it is. Listen. Normally, it's because the work was never the whole job. The experience was. It's the experience. So we have to get past that whole thought process of knowing what we're doing. But the experience is extremely important. So today, on the Operational Leak series, we are going to talk about the client communications leak. I said leak, y'all. It's the hidden gap where great work quietly loses to an unclear experience. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Danette Moss, Business Growth and Operations Strategist, also known as the Strategy Lady. And I collaborate with consultants and service-based business owners to simplify, automate, systematize, and streamline their operations. 4 steps that spell S.A.S.S. So they can literally stop drowning in the back end of their business and build a business that actually runs on rinse and repeat. Here's what this leak actually looks like. You start a project, everyone is excited. Then you go heads down to actually do the work, which is what you're supposed to do, right? But while you are in there working, the client hears nothing. Day 3, silence. Day 5, silence. And here's what you have to understand about the silence. The client does not feel silence with trust. They feel it with worry because you're quiet. You're doing the work, but you're too quiet. They start wondering, is she working on this? Did she forget about me? Should I have gone with someone else? Is this actually normal? Is this how she takes care of business or how he takes care of business? Now you know that you're working and you can see the work happening, but they cannot see it. So from where they actually sit, here's the issue. They paid good money, and then the person that they partnered with to take care of this project has disappeared because you're not saying nothing. You're not saying nothing at all, okay? And that is the client communication leak. We have to communicate. Now, it does not happen because you didn't care, right? Because you got your head down grinding. It happens because you never built literally a communication rhythm. The client really needs to be able to count on the fact that you're doing what you're doing, but you're not saying anything. You are generally at this point communicating reactively when there is news, when there is a deliverable that's due, when they reach out to you first, which is a no-no. The client does not experience reactive communication as efficient. It's not a good thing. They experience it as being left in the dark. Again, that's a communication leak. So let me show you where this actually breaks. Okay, we're going to dig a little deeper. The client sends a message. You are deep in work. So you answer 6 hours later or the next day. You know that's not good, right? So they're frustrated. But to you, it's because you've been focused. But to them, they feel left out. That makes them feel like, hey, I gave you money. You're taking a day to answer a simple question. You can't respond back to me via email. You did not do anything wrong in our eyesight, right? But there was no expectation set. You gotta set expectations. No, the typical, here's when you will hear from me type message. No rhythm. So every gap gets filled with that D word called doubt. They're concerned, they're doubting you, they wonder what's going on. And here's the part that actually stings about this whole situation. The quality of your work cannot fix this. We know you're good because they hired you, right? Because by the time that you actually deliver the beautiful final product, they have already spent 2 weeks feeling uncertain. The great work lands on top of a shaky experience because you lack communication. And people, listen, they don't remember the deliverable as much as they remember how the whole thing actually felt. And here's what that leak is actually costing you. It's costing you referrals. People don't refer based on your deliverable. Not totally, right? They refer based on how it felt to work with you. A client who actually felt unsure the whole time, listen, y'all, they're not going to send you referrals. They're not going to send you their friends. Even if the final work was excellent, it's going to literally cost you some testimonials as well, okay? Because that lukewarm testimonials that you generally get, instead of that enthusiastic type, this was the best experience. Again, even though you delivered a good finished product, they didn't get that experience. So if you've ever wondered why you got this generic type of testimony, it's because they just felt left out. They were communicating with you and you weren't communicating with them, right? It wasn't the best experience that they've ever had. The difference between those two is not that the work is not the work actually. It's actually the experience. And again, it's costing you repeat business. A client who felt anxious the whole engagement does not come back for round two. Even when the results were good, I promise you, I've been there. I'm thinking I'm taking care of business, but because I'm not really communicating with them, and yeah, sometimes we get clients that want to try to micromanage you, but see, if you set a pace and you give them updated or upfront information, if you onboard them correctly and you let them know the expectations, you generally can squash that micromanagement type thing, because nobody has to be micromanaged. We're trying to do what we have to do. But again, communication is extremely important, right? Although the results were good, the communication that was lacking left them literally feeling lost. They didn't get what they feel is the right outcome. And it cost you actually your reputation quietly. They may not say anything to you, but they may say something to prospective client. They're telling the other people how they felt. The work was good, but I never knew what was going on, right? They never knew what was going on. And of course, the reputation that you want walking around with your name on it is one of more of a positive, not a negative. But because you lack the communication, it's coming off negative because they couldn't trust you. They felt nervous. So let's go ahead and let's fix that leak. Here's the S.A.S fix. We always start with the first one, right? And you know, I'm all about simplifying. Decide the handoff. Moments that client actually needs to hear from you. Any and every project. I like to call it the onboarding part, right? Not 50 touch points. The key ones, the kickoff, the midpoint check-in, your delivery, a clear next step, okay? You're not trying to communicate more necessarily. What you're doing is you're trying to actually communicate at the right moments, on purpose, with purpose. So you don't want to drown them with tons of it, but you have those key times, the beginning, the mid, the deliverable, those key points, those precious moments that they need to be updated to know what's actually going on. Second, systematize. Set the rhythm and tell the client what it is out loud at the start, okay? You will hear from me on Monday with a status update. If you message me, you'll get a response within 1 business day, in less than 4 hours, whatever your time frame is, but you're letting them know up front. The moment a client knows when they hear from you, the silence stops feeling like you abandoned them, okay? You didn't add more work. You just literally set what I mentioned earlier, the expectation, and you removed their doubt right off the rip. You don't have any reason to doubt because you let them know in the beginning. And third, you automate, okay? The predictable touch points are really going to be extremely important. They should not depend on you. Again, remember, the welcome message, the kickoff summary, the here's what happens next, the notes, build them all at once. You can automate that stuff and let them fire off on a schedule. So that way the client feels consistently communicated with. You're not manually reinventing communication for every single project. You actually have things scheduled in your system, scheduled in your CRM, where you're communicating with them, again, not from the memory and not manually. Manual, sometimes there is an important touch, but too much manual, listen, you're going to run into some issues. So automation is extremely important, but we have to cover those other things. And I know that I've talked a whole lot about my S.A.S framework: simplify, automate, systematize, and streamline. But sometimes automation doesn't necessarily come in that order because you got some things you need to take care of first, right? And fourth, streamline. One channel. Come on, y'all. Stop jumping all around to all these different places. You find that when you jump around to a lot of different places, in most cases, a lot of these things are disconnected, right? You don't want to just be, I got an email account over here, I'm texting over there, DM over there. Use one tool all at once. Set it up, schedule it so that you can send out a DM, so that you can send out that email. And that way also your client could actually pick where or how they like for you to communicate. Communication is going to be extremely important. And if you have it living in one spot, and as it fires off, it's firing off in a timely fashion, and it's not scattered across 5, 6, or 10 different places, because things are going to get missed that way. And a missed message, as we all are aware, reads to the client as being ignored. One clear channel means that nothing falls through, and they always actually know how to really reach you, right? Because your communication is set and it's clear. So here's some action steps that I need you to take this week. First, I want you to think about your last 3 clients, okay? This is your benchmark. For each one, ask yourself honestly, did they always know what was happening? When would they hear from you next? And how could they actually reach you? Answer that. If the answer is no for even one of them, you have found the leak. Okay? Just for even one of them. That's a leak that you need to plug. Then do one thing. Write down the communication rhythm for your next project before it actually starts. And when they will hear from you, go ahead and write it down. And how often? I like to say this can be your standard operating procedure. Okay? And actually, make sure you put in there through what channel, which way. What your response time is going to be extremely important. All of those things are extremely important. Write it down. That document is actually the beginning of a communication system. Communication system, for some of us, we may call it a standard operating procedure, but a communication system is slightly different. How you plan on communicating with them, okay? Because keeping things updated in your head is not a good thing. Or you thinking, I'll get back to them soon and I'll remember, it's not a system. It's good intentions, but that's it. And it's exactly what will cause you to actually run into problems. You end up even adding more unnecessary work on you, busy work, because you hadn't taken the time to document these things. You hadn't taken the time after you documented them, simplify it, have all those things that I mentioned, the I's dotted and the T's crossed. You end up doing a lot of unnecessary busy work. Okay? Listen, if you look at those last 3 clients that you have and you realize that none of them had a clear, actual, consistent experience, and that every one of your projects are actually running on you remembering to reach out to them, this is not a clear system, and it's actually not what I would consider a communication problem per se. It's more of a problem that you fix one message at a time. Again, you're kind of jumping all over. So yeah, it is a communication problem. It's a scattered communication problem, but it's also more of a client success infrastructure gap, right? We talk about client communication, and we talk about client journey. We want to have that successful experience, but that infrastructure, that back end is all jacked up, and you must get it fixed. You got to, because if you don't, it's going to cause you major issues. And it's not going to give you the repeated clients that I know you desire to have. Okay? Now, we do talk about a way that we can help you resolve that. Okay? And that's generally by you jumping on board and coming in and signing up for the Simplified to Scale operational audit. But if you're not quite ready for that, I want you to make sure that you still go ahead and focus on these things that I give you. I'm giving you some tangible things that you can work with on a consistent weekly basis that you can take actionable steps on. And you should make sure that you take advantage of that. Okay? If you do decide and notice that you are in need of the Simplified to Scale audit, we actually go through that audit. We score you in 4 pillars. We give you a complete gap analysis and a prioritized roadmap for what to build first for you. And we deliver it back to you in 24 hours. Pretty simple, but yet extremely detailed. And when I say pretty simple, we peel back the onion layer. Simple on my side, but it's something that we believe all consultants, all service professionals, all business owners and entrepreneurs need to have a strong foundation around. So if you find that you're scattered, that opportunity is there for you. You can go over to letstalkstrategies.com and schedule a Simplified to Scale operational audit. If you find that as you go through these steps that I've shared here in today's operational leap, the client communication leap, that you are struggling and still all over the place, listen, grab your spot. We do have a couple spots open for the week. If you flood that, but if that's not you ready to take that next step, at least take these steps that I've shared with you here. At least answer those questions that I provided you. Be honest with yourself. Nobody has to know, but if you're not honest with yourself, how can you fix it, right? This is Danette Moss, business growth and operations strategist, aka the strategy lady over at Let's Talk Strategies and Digital CEO Systems. Here every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern. Just so happen to be in an 11 a.m. Central Time Zone right now. But just wanted to make sure I jumped on and give you all the good, and to make sure that we keep going and giving you and serving you with this awesome information with the operational leak. Please make sure that you share with your business bestie. If you're listening to a replay, put in hashtag replay. You can ask us some questions if you have, and I can give some guidance in some direction. I answer them personally. All right. Until next time, see you next Tuesday, same time, maybe a different place. All right. Take care for now.